All right, everyone. Welcome. I'm Dave Erickson, CEO of ScreamingBox. Today we're going to talk about tales from the field. Every development project is different, and it depends on a lot of things, including the size of the client, the size and type of agency, and the effects of things such as team quality, personalities, whether it's global or local. But in the end, flexibility is the key. And what we're going to do is talk about three different kind of stories of projects that we've done to kind of give an idea of all the different types of ways that development can be done and all the things that kind of happen during a development process. A little bit about us. ScreamingBox was founded in 2012. We've had 100+ clients and about 250 projects. We do development work, any kind of digital development work, web, apps, software, firmware, hardware, marketing. And we do them for startups and R&D labs, SMBs and enterprise companies. And our pool of developers is made up of about 150 plus freelance developers, project managers, digital marketing, QA. And our focus is senior level freelance developers. And so we've been able to build our agency using that. And it gives us a lot of flexibility and the ability to help a wide variety of clients. Our team quality is basically built up by having all of our developers go through a pretty advanced process of HR checks and communication testing, technical assessments, and personality behavior assessments. So that our pool is well known and verified and validated as very high level senior developers. Our predictive behavior assessment is kind of unique. We basically do personality assessments of our developers, but also our clients, and this allows us to kind of put the teams together in a way that eliminate a lot of problems and communication issues and allow us to build a very advanced and dynamic team that can work very easily with all types of different clients. And we do all of our work basically remote. We've done some occasional on-site, but now in COVID times, everything's remote anyways. So for us, there was no real change in how we do business because we've mostly always been remote and built the company on remote teams and structures. And so we've developed our way of doing business and development around remote communication or around remote work structures. So this has made it much easier to do the type of business that we do. The key to any kind of development project is a lot of flexibility and in working with team management. And we've developed our pool of freelancers because they have a flexibility that we really like and that our clients like. And it allows for kind of a collaborative, consultative type of development, which is what our clients are looking for. This is particularly good for problem solving, invention, and creation, these type of teams. And that's how we've built our teams. All right, so now to the meat of it. One of our first clients and one of our longer term clients was a company called Sunport, and they have developed a renewable energy device. This is an IoT device that plugs into your wall, and it allows you to basically buy and convert solar credits. And for us, they came to us where they had a hardware prototype that was kind of built, and they had no app, no website, anything. And so they had us start building an Android and an iOS app. We put together a team of 4 developers who basically worked with a scope of work that was defined by the client, but it changed every week. And so we did the MVP, and in doing the MVP, our developers found and thought of different ways that we could add to the product. And so quickly thereafter, we did a version 1. And over a period of about 2 years, we probably did 3 or 4 revisions. But during that time, they had an app and we got it up on the App Store. they didn't really, their business model needed to develop. So they also had us end up doing their website and helping them with some of their e-commerce and marketing. And in the end, we pretty much built their entire product base of apps, website, e-commerce. And it was a very challenging project because they needed a certain level of flexibility, because every time we finished a revision of something, they had to go out and do fundraising, and they did fundraising through various VC type of funding, but also through Kickstarter. And we had to participate and help that. And so there'd be periods of time of 3-4 months where they would have no work, or they didn't need any work done, and then they would get some more funds, and then they'd come back to us, and we would have to take our developers who had worked on their project and reorientate things so they could continue on this. That was a big challenge, but it was one of the things that we could work with, and the developers really liked this product and worked quite well over this period of time, with starts and stops, and having to have periods of intense work and then periods where they had to go work on other projects until this one was ready again. So this was a very interesting project in the sense that it was a startup and that we had to do a lot of different work, working with Bluetooth as well as the apps, the web, and the hardware. Very interesting project for us. Next is one of our clients, Mercedes-Benz, and we do app development. We've done iOS and Android app for them, and we also do a bunch of UX and UI development for them. This project was a very interesting one in which they had to go to a trade show, and a month before the trade show, which was CES, they came to us and said, we need to put together kind of an AI demonstration kiosk for the trade show. And they had a month to do it. And so we had to put together a team of developers. In this case, it was about 9 developers working with HTML5, 3D animation, Unity 3D. And we had to work with kind of a standalone computer, very large iPad per se, running HTML5, to create an interactive display that actually demonstrates some of the AI technologies that they are working on, that we were kind of having a little work with as well. And we had 30 days to put it together. This was a very demanding project, and we had to work very closely with them and this team, where we had to brainstorm what it would look like with their team, and then implement all the development on the project to get it running and proofed out before the trade show. We were able to successfully do it, and the technology platform displayed at CES and was a great success that showed how Mercedes-Benz was working with AI for future projects. Some of those projects are now becoming a reality. But it was a good demonstration of how some projects can come together super fast. And to do this development in 30 days was a real challenge. One of the reasons we had a team of 9 developers, that was what we needed for the bandwidth. But it was an exciting time. All right. Our last example of how we've done, or some of the projects, this is a really interesting one. This company got some funding, and they had a product idea, and kind of that's what they had. They came to us to basically develop a product out of an idea, and this involved a lot of invention and creation. And their product was an advanced file encryption system working with video and audio for the music and movie industry, that would allow them to have files encrypted and decrypted on the fly, to offer a level of protection and digital security as the content was being audited or edited in various editing situations. We basically had one main developer who was leading the project. He's kind of a mad scientist type of developer with about 25 years of development experience in hardware, firmware, software, and iOS applications. And his challenge was to literally invent a way to do this. This was a project that took about 6 months. In addition, we had to do a lot of advanced UX work where we had to go to the client and all the people who were touching the product. So we actually interviewed the client. We interviewed some famous movie directors who were using the product, a bunch of studio music producers, to figure out exactly how they would be using the files and what their workflows were for editing the content, so that we could use those workflows in developing a UX and the software that would satisfy all their requirements. And so this was a key feature of our development. And that UX experience took about a month to interview about, I think it was 12 different people within the industry to figure out their workflows. And once we had their workflows defined, we then could put together a feature set and map out exactly what the software was going to have to do and how it was going to have to facilitate all those workflows. Then the hard part came of figuring out how do we do the encryption under those circumstances. The developer is a very strong personality, and the client also is a strong personality. So this is one of those things where the client and the developer, we matched them up from a personality side, but once they got involved, they had kind of a challenge in the sense that the client needed to figure out, the level of experience of the developer and learn to trust the developer. And the developer had to kind of learn to trust the client as to what they wanted to know. And the first, month of working together, there was a lot of emotion, and I would get calls where the client would call me and, oh, I can't work with the developer. He's so strong in what he wants to do. The developer would call me literally a few minutes later. I can't work with the client. The client wants to do this, but we need to do this. And that back and forth took a while until at one point they worked with each other enough where they realized that they each had a level of experience, and they learned to respect each other. And after that, they had a great level of respect for each other, and the project moved very quickly, and they were able to work through a lot of the real invention challenges to create this product and get this product up and running in a reasonable amount of time. So it was one of the more difficult projects to start, but once the client and the main developer learned to respect for each other, it moved along great. And now they have a great trust, and anytime the client needs something, he only goes with that developer and pretty much is able to work with him seamlessly. So that's a kind of a good tale about how personality fits in. Even if you're trying to match the personality, sometimes it takes a little bit of working together for the client and the developer to really respect each other, particularly on a project where they're doing a lot of invention and creation to develop the product. All right, so that's kind of a summary of the types of development projects that we have worked on and some of the things that we have encountered. I'm more than happy to talk to anybody or to answer any questions. I think we still have a few minutes to take some questions, Q&A. So if anybody has any questions, please put them in the chat and I will answer. All right, one of the questions we have is, from a business management standpoint, how do we manage scope creep? It would seem like it's very difficult to forecast talent utilization. All right, so let's try to work with this scope creep. It happens in every project. Even on a simple project, it's as simple as we have to develop a feature, and we develop the feature and we show it to the client, and the client says, oh, that's great. That gave me an idea. Can we also do this? And so scope creep is a real issue. The way we've done it is we actually don't do project fixed-based bids. Our business model is we do time and material only. Our clients pay us for the actual hours worked, and whether we work 1 hour or whether we work 100 hours, it doesn't matter. So scope creep only has an effect if the client says, I have a budget, I can't exceed this much money each month in development. We tell them, hey, you're at that level. Do you want us to do this other work this month or move it on to the next month? But other clients, it's just by hour. If they want to add more features to the project, our developers will add more features to the project. It's one of the reasons why we don't do fixed bid. Fixed bid doesn't just make any sense, because there's always product creep. There's always scope creep, because the client will see the results of the work, and they'll always get some ideas about how they can make the product better, and they want to do it then. And they say, okay, we're going to do it now. This is what we want. We like what you've done, and we want to add to it. And with fixed bid projects, it doesn't allow that ability. And so it puts a barrier on the client, but also on us. And so we found the team and materials way of doing business is basically the flexible enough. And so scope creep only is one where the client decides if he wants it or not. And we'll do anything the client asks us to do. It says here it'd be difficult to forecast talent utilization. It is. It's one of the reasons why we work with a large pool of freelance developers. And when somebody says, hey, we need this type of tech stack, we go to our pool, and we might have to ask 5 or 6 developers with that tech stack if they have time available and what we can do. On the other hand, freelancers are very flexible. So sometimes the projects, they have deadlines. We need a lot of bandwidth, and the developers are working, 40 hours a week. And other times during the project, it's moving along and the developers are working 20 hours a week. Also, like we had with our Sunport project, it may be that after they get to a revision, the client doesn't need any work until they get their next amount of money. So the developers go on to other projects. And we try to keep all of our developers busy with a variety of projects, but they're freelancers. They have other projects that they do. We even have freelancers who bring projects that they've gotten for themselves, and they need some extra developers. And so they work with our developers that are in our pool, and we have an arrangement so that they can do that with their own projects. And this gives everybody a lot of flexibility, and that's how we deal with the developer utilization. If we were a traditional agency and we had full-time developers, it would be a problem, and we could get in a position where we have developers sitting on the bench with nothing to do, and we're having to pay them, and they're not free to do anything. This way, they're free to keep themselves busy with other projects, and they like that. We have some freelance developers who only like doing projects that we do, and they only do free ScreamingBox projects. We have other developers who do a mix of projects. So we can handle any type. That's why we're always looking for freelance developers. Another question is, do you work with tech hardware? Yes, we do a bunch. We're working on several hardware projects right now. We did a smartwatch, fitness watch recently, and we're currently working on a smart product for the travel industry. So we do firmware, hardware of all types. How do you find the developers at your requirement in a short time span? So that's where our pool comes in. We have 150 developers in our pool, not because we're using all 150 full-time all the time. That would be nice, and that would mean we're a very large company. But we have this pool, and we're always recruiting into the pool because it takes a long time for us to verify a developer, to interview them, to have them go through the technical challenges, put them on a trial project, and really verify and validate who they are. Once that's done, and once they're in the pool, When we need something, we just go to the pool and we ask for the tech stack, are you available? And if they are, then we work with them and present them to the client if their personalities line up and if everything fits. It is a little bit of work on our back end. We have a great team of people internally for resource management who works with all of our developers to match them and line them up with the right project and the right client. How do you filter potential clients? Well, we're extremely flexible, so we can deal. I mean, that's one of the kind of the issues we have is if we were marketing, it'd be much easier if all we did was say we work with this type of client. We'll work with any client. Probably the biggest filter is a minimum budget. If you want to build a website for $500, we're not the guys to come to. That's not what we do. But if you're trying to build an MVP and you have a little bit of money and you want to try to do it in a cost-effective way, we can work with that. If you're an enterprise company and you're looking for team extension, we can do that. Or if you want us to work on a specific project and put together a team to build out that project, we can do that as well. So for filtering clients, I guess if we were to have a criteria, it would be they have some money to work with. And I guess the other criteria would be that they are good people, that their personalities are easy to work with, and that they have an exciting product to work on. The next question is, do you guys have a talent development pipeline, or do you rely on senior and developers intent and freelancers coming to you? Well, we do work with a lot of different people. We work with Galvanize and a bunch of other co-working places to work with finding freelance developers. We have some recruiters that we've worked with, and we work with some smaller development agencies who have developers who help introduce us to people. We go to events like this and talk to a bunch of developers, and that helps give us people coming into our pool. Most of our developers are from the Americas or from Europe, and we're okay focusing on those areas, but we'll talk to any developer. Our major criteria for bringing a developer into our pool is, are they senior, and do they have a tech stack of value, and do they have the communication skills needed to work with our client base? All right. Do you do any Flutter projects? Yes, we've done some Flutter projects. I think Flutter has some real potential for the future, and we are looking for more Flutter projects and more Flutter developers. Do you use freelancers who know specific tools like logging and motoring tools and such? Yeah, again, with our freelance pool, we're looking for kind of senior level developers. They tend to have a lot of tools that they've worked with. And so we just have that into our system. We have a whole profile system that has all the specifics of a developer's tech stack, what tools they've worked with. We pretty much have developers who've worked with every tool that exists, but we're also helping developers learn tools. So Flutter, we only had a few developers in our pool a year ago who had any Flutter experience. And so we actually arranged within our pool to do Flutter mentoring and training, and to get some of our other developers to learn Flutter. And that allowed some of our developers to actually start working in Flutter. We do that with some tools, and we've introduced some companies who have some development tools. We've introduced them to our developers and put them into our developer newsletters so they're aware of the tools. So we do that. How do you get clients without knocking on doors? Well, our clients have all come from kind of word of mouth from our past client base. That's where most of our business come from. We do these seminars like DeveloperWeek. We found a couple of clients that way. We also do a bunch of networking stuff. Example, Founders Live, we participate in. Those are a lot of startup companies. We're also involved in several incubators like Galvanized and LMU in Germany, where we get introduced to clients. And that's just one of the ways we do it. Do you have an office location? No, we do not. I'm in the LA area, so my office is in LA. We have two of our partners up in San Francisco, so their offices are in the Bay Area, and we have an office in Germany as well. So we have several locations, but no official office.